Hey guys, how are we going today? Welcome to another video for Dark Cave Mining. Today we just have Rob on today, and we're going to discuss how to actually connect to the Getblok subpool and mine Ergo. Pretty interesting week you've had this week. A couple of updates on the UI front, some more payout details, and yeah, do you want to give us a little bit of elaboration on that, please, mate?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, happy to be here again. Thanks for having me. And I think it has been an interesting ride. We've It's been a quiet week, let's say, and which is good. That means things are functioning as they should. It gives our development team time to really focus in on the code and make things right. So we did launch a couple updates, which we'll kind of show you here in a little bit. But we did focus on payouts right now. So we
Yeah.
provided a clearer path on, kind of how the payments are processed, did some updates within the UI, and we also made it so now before, the payments actually clear, because miners are kind of, wondering where's my neta or where's my erg. We made it so as the blocks are being processed, we added another processing phase, and that what that does is it updates what we call an unconfirmed balance. So
Yeah.
miners are quickly able to see what their balance is, and give them a little bit more eyes on what they're actually earning as they're mining.
Yeah, there's a little sort of bit of conjecture there, I should say. Just around the payouts and when the sort of thing sort of halted a little bit, but everything was fine on the back end. It was just sort of a little bit of congestion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, you have to think of us as slightly different than most of your traditional mining pools.
Yeah.
Although we do confirm our blocks much quicker, once those blocks are confirmed, there's still interaction that needs to happen with the smart contract that goes back out to the blockchain, waits for blocks to be found, and processes those transactions. So yeah, things became backlog. We did implement a batching system, which now it processes 5 blocks at a time. So that made things a lot smoother, and actually, enabled us to get payments out much faster. So things have started to catch up. It's always hit or miss because who knows when the next block is going to be found. But yeah, we're in a better spot now, and we seem to be making miners happy.
Yeah, that's the main thing, isn't it? The whole reason you're in business.
Exactly, that's what it's about.
So let's do a little bit of a tutorial on for someone who may want to mine erg. How would sort of someone kick things off in that respect?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this will be interesting. I think we'll make this a little interactive, but in my opinion, the first thing you should do if you want to start mining erg is to get a wallet, right? I mean, I think that's step one. Making sure it's the appropriate wallet, especially when mining, erg on Getblok.io. There's obviously token interactions and things of that nature where we do want people to stay away from exchange wallets, right? So it's, we always suggest stay away from exchange wallets in general, just because the sheer fact that, one, they can burn your tokens if you are doing a form of token mining. But two, if you use a native wallet, you're mining your own coin, right? So
Yeah.
if you're using an exchange, you're mining to that wallet, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the rewards that are paid out from that block are actually those rewards. It's a transaction process with whatever funds are within the exchange. So, there's multiple reasons to, support a native wallet, but that's just one of them. So as you were just pulling up, there are, obviously several Ergo native wallets that can be found, right? And we
Yeah.
recommend to go to ergoplatform.org. And on that site, you can see that there's, obviously multiple wallets. And, I've tested most of these. If as you scroll down, you'll see there's quite a few that you can pick from. In my opinion, the best wallet to use when mining on Getblok would be Nautilus, because Nautilus interacts very well with Ergo decks. And when you're mining tokens, miners may want to liquidate those tokens, right? So you could use mobile wallet, you can use things like that, which are great too. It's great to view your wallet on the go, and what your rewards are as they're coming in. And you could actually use that same wallet and restore it on Nautilus. So there is opportunity to use multiple wallets. Me myself, I personally use the Ergo mobile wallet as well as the Nautilus wallet. So those are
Yeah.
my two go-tos. How about you, CW? Is there any wallet that you prefer? What are you using today?
I have basically the same setup as you. So once I'm on the desktop itself, mainly use Nautilus, but then also in combination with the mobile wallet as well. I like just having that option to be able to use both, and then also to see my rewards on the fly as well. So yeah, that's what I use. So as you can see, there's a number of wallets here. So there's the Ergo node, Ergo mobile, the paper wallet, Minotaur, Nautilus, Ergo, and Safe Wallet. And also just like to add that the Yoroi is actually sort of in development as well. So there's going to be a lot of sort of improvements on that side. So I'm really looking forward to that coming through.
Yeah, I mean, that was my original go-to wallet, right? I think everyone, that was one of the only wallets that was available outside some of, some other developed wallets, but it was buggy, right? I think there was a lot of issues with transaction processing, especially if you're a miner and you have a lot of, small transactions. But yeah, I'm excited to see, what they can kind of, continue to bring to the table and see what some of their new developments offer.
Yeah, for sure. Just shout out here for Chris Ray as well, just letting me know that the audio's fine this week, so that's a big bonus.
Hey, Chris, how you doing? Thanks for
Uh,
joining us.
So now that we have someone sort of picking out a wallet, what's next?
Yeah, so let me do this. I'm going to take over. I'll share my screen, and then I'll kind of go through how to, start mining Ergo in general on Windows, and then I'll give a quick tutorial on how to connect through Hive OS as well.
Yeah, sure. So Chris just has a question here as well. So while you guys are on wallets, I wonder if you could mention the possible problems that could arise from mining to an exchange wallet. So the problem with that is basically dust. So there's a big issue with dust when that sort of comes through. So the problem there is you basically just accumulate a number of sort of really dusty transactions. So minor payouts might be sort of in the sort of 0.01 erg category. And they're basically, the exchange just gets sort of overwhelmed on their back end. So they have to accumulate all those multiple boxes into one or even lesser amounts. So they have to go through dust cleanups. And I think they've got a little sort of script that they run, which accumulates up to about 100 erg at a time. But then once, if you've got multiple miners there, yeah, it evaporates the problem there. So yeah, obviously if you could please mine to a self-custody wallet, that'd be great. Hope that answers your question, mate.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think the other, downfall is, and we've seen, miners actually have this issue just recently. They're using an exchange wallet, they're connecting to a pool, they're mining, Neta for days. Yeah. And then they come and they ask when payments, right? And it's, we kind of, we have a support, a support team that kind of answers all these questions. We have different methods that, we can provide, tickets and things of that nature. And you would not believe how many times we get the same, question over and over again. And when you kind of dig into it, they're using an exchange wallet. So please do not use an exchange wallet. It will definitely hurt your rewards, especially mining on our pool.
Yeah, so just from a safety sort of standpoint, from the node's perspective, that the exchanges are running, they actually got some filters set up only to accept sort of tokens that they allow. We saw a couple of issues with the exchanges being noodled with the Mi Goreng sort of token, which clogged up a couple of the exchanges. But then also, it might be sort of common practice when you do actually mine ETH, just to be able to reduce the fees and things along that in that nature. Obviously on Ergo, you don't have that issue where to transfer out or into an exchange, that's pretty relatively cost effective.
No, that's exactly right.
Got a question here from Watermelon. Is Neta a token on the Ergo blockchain? Yes, it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have CNETA as well, which is the counterparty to that which runs on Cardano. But the Neta token itself, yes, is on Ergo. So do you want to give a rundown, mate? Now on to how to mine?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, obviously the first thing is to select your miner. There's several miners that can be used. And when I say miner, it's mining software. Usually for AMD, people tend to use what we call Team Red Miner. And then for NVIDIA cards, you can use T-Rex, which is exclusive to NVIDIA. And then there's also NB Miner as well as LOL Miner, SRB Miner, and then Nano Miner, which you can use either AMD or NVIDIA. So, there's options out there. What I'm going to show you today, since I'm just doing this on my laptop, I have a NVIDIA 3060 laptop edition. I'm going to be using T-Rex Miner. I'll show you how to show quickly, set up a flight sheet, and then, how to start mining to our pool. So once you download T-Rex Miner, and it's suggested to go to their GitHub because that would be the best point of reference. You'll open up the folder once you extract it, and you'll have a bunch of mining algorithms here as well as mining pools. So I went ahead already and I made what I kind of call just more of a custom flight sheet that was more dedicated to Getblok, and then I saved it as Getblok so I can use it in the future. So what you would do here is once you have the file that you want to edit, you would select it. You would go down to show more options. In my case, since I'm on Windows 11, and what you would look for is the edit button. So you click on edit, it will open up a notebook file, right? And basically what you would do here is you would just go in, most of it's already set up. You would have to go in and you would have to update the URL. Now, we recommend to always use ergo.getblok.io and then add the port number 3056 for just standard port, and then you would use 4056 for SSL. Once you have that in there, you could go ahead and, again, we just talked about getting an address. You would then take that address, you would enter it in here. So this is my address. And then following that address, you would put a period, and then you would name your worker. So I'm just putting T-Rex test here for this purpose. Then you would leave all the remaining commands. So -P, which is password, you would leave that as X on our pool because no password is required. And then pause is, the final statement in the flight sheet here. Once you have that completed, you would go and you would save it, as whatever you want. Again, I'm saving as getblok.io, so I know that I can come back and find that file easily. Once you're done, you close the file, and then you would go and you would double click the file to open it. Now, for most people, it will probably give you either a virus protection warning or something like that. Unfortunately, with mining, you're just going to have to hit accept. That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, there's a couple of issues there, or not issues, but safety rails, I guess. Obviously, people often use these miners once they have access to a computer to actually run a miner in the background. So I think that's why it's actually sort of first initiated there.
Exactly right. And again, I always recommend to kind of find your mining software on their GitHub. Usually they have, things that you can kind of use to identify that it is, the right source versus using some random website that says, hey, here's the software, download it. So, you can go on their GitHub, you can track all the history. And, these guys, they're in a business, right? So, I mean, they're typically not going to do anything malicious. It's in their best interest. They have a name to protect. And a lot of this mining software has been out for quite some time. So, there is some reputation here.
Yeah,
so as you
most
can
definitely.
see, I am mining. I'm not going to get the greatest hash rate. My fans are off, so it's going to warm up really quickly. But really just wanted to show you that it's really that simple to connect to the mining pool. Once you connect, it will kind of give you, some coding here, right? It's telling you that it's connecting to, the URL that you put in, your username, which is your address. And then it will start going through some options here. Obviously I set some intensity, so it's loading that option. And then it shows that it's connecting, it's finding the GPU, and then it will show you that you're actually mining on the pool. So again, that's just, that's Windows, very straightforward, very easy to set up. Each miner has its own nuances as far as the flight sheet is concerned. So we do recommend going to our website, and you'll see a list of recommended flight sheets there.
So just
right,
in
so we're gonna-
regards to, say, the difficulty setup, so obviously on your website, you've got the like the low difficulty, but then also the high difficulty. Do you want to elaborate on what that actually is?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's a good question. So high difficulty is usually for miners that have massive amounts of hash rate. And when I say massive, I would say 10 gigahash and up, maybe even and higher. And really what that does is it prevents large miners from spamming, our backend with shares.
Yeah.
For them, for us, right? So I mean, I think it's a win-win. They get more efficient share submission when they use high difficulty ports. So it's really that's intended for the larger miners.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. And we have a comment here from Distracted Cameraman. That's a nice name. That's exactly the video I was just searching for a few minutes ago. So thanks for the guide.
Yeah,
Cheers,
no,
mate.
no problem. Appreciate that. All right, so next we'll show you how to connect to our pool on Hive OS. And again, it's very straightforward. For obvious reasons, I'm going to start right on my flight sheet. I don't want to share any of my IP addresses or anything like that, but we'll keep it safe here. So I am already mining Ergo, so I'll just kind of pretend that I'm not. We'll go through, you do click on flight sheets, you'll go here, you'll click on the three dots, find edit, and then it will open up your options. So, I'm kind of splitting my rig net right now, so I'm using two different mining softwares. However, that doesn't really matter. So the first thing you would do is you would go and you pick your coin, right? There's plenty of coins to choose from, but we're mining Erg. So we're going to pick Erg. And then the second thing you would do is go ahead and choose your wallet. So I already have my wallet set up. If you do not have it set up, you would go here and you would click add wallet. Again, you pick the coin, you would enter the address just as you did as we showed you on the Windows flight sheet. You can make a name for your wallet, and you can even call out the source. But really, the most important thing is entering your address and then giving it a name so you can identify it. Once that's done, you would click create. I'm not creating a wallet, so I'll click cancel. And then the most important thing is that you would have to select your pool, right? So obviously, I'm mining to Getblok.io. We are in the list as a default pool, so all you would have to do is click on the drop down here. You would look for Getblok.io, and you would click on it, and then hit configure pool. Now this is where you would pick the port, just as we would have to manually do it in the Windows flight sheet. This is a little bit more automatic, so it gives you all the options here. Again, we do have multiple regions, but we do suggest that you use our global port. And the reason is that there are times where nodes go down. We need to do maintenance on a node. We need to push UI updates. There's several things that we need to do, and we do them in a regional manner. So when we do need to do those maintenance like items, we may shut down a region, which will impact your mining. Now, the way that our system's set up is we do have forwarding where it will point you to the closest active region. So if you are on global, it will automatically do that for you. If not, unfortunately, you'll be mining to nothing. So we do suggest that you pick the global port. Others go ahead and they'll pick all of them. That's something you can do too, but it's really not necessary here. And then again, for SSL ports, you would just click that, and then it would give you all the SSL options as well. Once
That's a great
done,
thing about Hive OS. It's basically just the UI is pretty straightforward. It just has everything listed that you need to do. It's just a matter of sort of crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and away you sort of go.
Exactly. It is a really great tool. And I mean, I myself, I think most miners start by mining on Windows, right? You might start off with one GPU. You could use Hive for it, but it's really not necessary at that point. You're kind of getting, used to mining, figuring things out. But as you scale up and you start having, 6 GPUs, 12 GPUs, 20 GPUs and beyond, it makes things a lot simpler to kind of, operate everything out of Hive OS. And, specifically for me, I have mixed rigs, so I don't, necessarily pick NVIDIA or AMD. I have a little bit of both. So it makes it that much easier just to manage drivers and, versions and all that stuff, mining software versions and things of that nature. Where when you're using Windows, you kind of have to do all that stuff and set it up for yourself, right? And worry about power consumption on your computer and, when it's going to go to sleep and, all that stuff. So that takes a lot of the mystery out of it. And it really is a good tool.
Yeah. You just mentioned actually mining with both NVIDIA and AMD cards. Which miners do you actually use for each card, or each brand, I should say?
Yeah, so me personally, I use Team Red Miner for my AMD cards. So this rig, and again, I'm not going to scroll up just because I don't want to expose my IP, but I have about 6 Vegas on this rig, a few 5700 XTs, and then actually one 3090, one standalone 3090. So it's a powerhouse of a rig, but yeah, I use Team Red Miner for all my AMD cards. I actually just started toying around with R mode. So I suggest anyone, who's mining on Team Red right now, check it out. It does give you some improvements on Ergo. I've seen some efficiency improvements for the most part. It does impact thermals just a little bit because you're lowering the power on your core. But overall, I did see some significant improvements. So definitely something to check out.
All right, so that's setting up the flight sheet and everything, actually how to connect to the Getblok servers. What
Yeah.
do you do then? How do you sort of interact then and be able to sort of see payouts and a little bit more information?
Sure. So once you're mining, there's, obviously we showed you on Windows, you can see, that you're actually mining there. Here, if you were to scroll up, you would see your rigs and you would actually see that it's accepting shares. Once the pool or once you see that your miner is submitting shares, we generally say to wait 5 to 10 minutes because, obviously the mining software needs to connect the pool to the pool, submit the shares, load into the back end, and then it needs to work with the UI and there's caching and things like that. So it could take a few minutes before you actually see yourself show up on the dashboard. But what you would do is you would go to ergo.getblok.io, which I'll show you here. And basically when you sign in, I'm sorry, it's going to take us through some crazy loops here because I have my address in there. But if you go, just type in ergo.getblok.io, which I'm going to start over here. It will take you to our main dashboard. And it's, plain vanilla, not quite vanilla. It's pretty
It's
exciting,
not
but
vanilla. Don't sell yourself short there,
yeah.
mate.
But no, my point is you really, you don't see everything that it's worth from when you just log in. People are like, I want to see Neta, I want to see what's going on behind the scenes, what's subpooling about. Well, this is really just showing you our standard mining pool, right? So this is showing you how many miners are connected to the total pool in general, standard block rewards, everything like that. So it's right now, the way it shows, it's all encompassing. It's not showing you all the separate subpools broken out. We do have an area where you can see that, but right now, this is kind of just giving you a broad overview of everything that's located on the pool.
It's nice to see that you're still sitting above 1 terahash also.
Yeah, we climbed back and, I'll show you a little preview here, but we can walk through this. So obviously, this is when we launched subpools. It went parabolic for a little bit there and payout issues. We had our own challenges, which I think we talked through, but it crashed a little bit, but then, we've stabilized and we've maintained up above 1 terahash. So we're happy. I think it's about 7% of the network, right? So happy to contribute and, give everything that we potentially can. So
Yeah. Just like to do a shout out also to Roy. He's just joined the pool a week ago. So, and also with a comment, great job, guys. Thanks very much, Roy, for the contribution. I'm sure Rob and the Getblok boys love that.
yeah, thank you, Roy. Appreciate you joining the team here. So once you're on the dashboard, the first thing that you would do is you take that Ergo address that we've been using throughout this whole process, you enter it into the top here, you hit enter, and I happen to be mining Neta right now. So it's going to show that I am in the Neta mining pool. What it will show you if you're a first time miner is you'll see a bright orange Getblok.io logo here, and it will tell you that you're mining in our standard pool. Which is okay. That's, the starting point, standard erg rewards. We do have quite a few miners that are supporting that pool. I just happen to be mining Neta. So, again, as you kind of log in, this gives you eyes to, not only the pool stats that are specific to the Neta mining pool. And, we have some interesting stats here, right? Like what's the total hash rate on the pool, how many blocks that pool is found. And I think this is the big one that everyone kind of has their eyes on right now.
Yeah, it's getting
How
up
much
there.
was paid out to, it's getting up there, right? We're about 70% of the way there. So what's in store next, soon to come. But yeah, we're winding down on phase one of the Neta pool here. So be interesting to see what comes next.
Yeah, so those who don't know, there was actually 10 million Neta provided in the liquidity pool initially. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens once all that sort of reaches the 10 mil. Have you spoken to Frosty in regards to anything along those lines?
Yeah, we're in close contacts with him, and I think it's being thought through, right? I mean, I think there's a lot that's involved here. So there's definitely something coming, but can't really share what that is yet. So more to
Soon.
come soon. Exactly. Anyways, what happens now, right? So you're on the pool, you see the pool stats, that's great, but people want to know, where's my payments, right? What am I mining? Am I submitting shares?
Yeah,
Where's kind of my personal stats? So
the juicy
we,
stuff.
the juicy stuff. So we do have a personal stats section. So all you would do is you click on the tab there, and it would kind of pop open your personal stats, which we do have separated into kind of two sections here. So this is what we call like your pool contribution. So these are more or less your personal stats that are related to your actual mining. So it shows you how many workers you have online, what's your total hash rate, how many shares you're submitting, what's the rate of those shares. And then if you actually mined any blocks, it would show you those blocks here. I'm not so lucky. I haven't mined a block since we switched over to subpooling. So one's coming. I'm thinking I should maybe switch over to solo next and test my luck there with 1.3 gigahash. But the other thing you can do, and I think this is more of an Easter egg, and some people know this, some don't, but if you actually click on these cards, it will pull over a slide over. And in that slide over, it will show you a little bit more details about your miners, really. So it will show your worker name, what's the hash rate per worker. You see here that T-Rex test that we did a few minutes ago. It popped up, it shut down. So it's just going to hold it for a little bit just because of cache. But this is where you would see the workers that you actually have mining, and then it would show your hash rate over time.
So just on shares that you've got there, obviously they're PPLNS pools. Just want to just elaborate on sort of how that all sort of comes together in regards to shares.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So we are, as you said, a PPLNS pool, and it's a time window, and we say it's really the way you look at it is with shares, I guess. And so you would take 50,000 shares, right, and that's kind of our window. And we look back across that window of shares from the last block. So that window is kind of the window that it accumulates everyone's shares that has been found within that window, and then it breaks it down into individual miners' contribution, so to speak, right? So there's a lot that really comes with this, and it's important to understand that one, if you jump on and off the pool, PPLNS is your worst enemy. It will hurt you. You will be mining for hours and you jump off too early, and you may not get payout, because that's really what it's there to do, is to protect, the smaller miners, or the miners that are, staying with the pool and not pool hopping.
Yeah.
It also could impact larger miners too, right? And again, that's that whole pool hopping theory where a large miner jumps on the pool, they spam, the back end with shares, and they're taking all the rewards, which there's other payout systems like prop and things like that that works perfectly for. And not to say that PPLNS is not good for large miners, it just takes time for a larger miner's shares to stabilize against the PPLNS window.
Yeah.
So it's really for fairness to miners that are supporting the pool, in it for the long run, and not just jumping on to get a quick reward and then run away.
Yeah, I think that's a great explanation there. Shout out to Rero. Good morning, sirs. How are you, mate?
Hey, Rero, how you doing, buddy? All right, so the next section here, and I think this is the most important, is the payment section, right? So what you would do, again, obviously you could click on this and see more detail, but this gives you an overall snapshot of what your payments were in the last 24 hours. your confirmed balance, which is soon to impact your payments, your unconfirmed balance, which we'll get into this in a little bit more detail, but your unconfirmed balance is basically the balance that's pending, waiting for the blocks to not only be confirmed, but to be processed and then paid. So as they're processed and then paid, this balance kind of climbs up the ladder here until it hits your payments. But again, it gives you insight as to what you're earning as you're mining before those blocks are fully paid out. And then we run a tally of weekly, monthly, and all time. Now, when you click on this, it does give you detail. We have it broken up into several sections, which are payments, which are the actual payments based on what your minimum payout is set at. It gives you your earnings, so it will show you your earnings by day. And then also rewards. Now, typically this table and the payments table would show you not only what your payments are, but it would show you the payment per block. Now, again, we're batching our block payouts. So as it stands right now, what this is reflecting is 5 block payouts. In the future, when we kind of, separate everything and have separate, data streams, we'll be able to show this like we used to, where we're actually showing a payment per block.
Yep. Yeah, it's nice to note as well. Obviously, you had that little bit of congestion there with the 1 block playouts. So yeah, obviously you've extended that payment out to 5 blocks.
Exactly, and it was the only way to do it currently. Obviously, we're working on some additional scaling solutions, but I think like one of my teammates said, it was either Vinny or Karat. It's like we're riding a bicycle, right? And we can't stop this thing. Like it just needs to go. And we're trying to change a flat tire and put the chain back on and do all this stuff while we're on this bicycle, and it needs to go, and we'll do whatever it takes to keep it going. So it's challenging at times, but it's the nature of the beast. And I think it keeps us going, right? It keeps us on our toes.
Exactly. Obviously you can see it. It keeps the hair on your head as well. There's no stress there whatsoever.
No, none whatsoever.
Just like to share that as well. If anyone watching has any questions, by all means, chuck them in the comments there also, and we can address them as we go.
Yeah, now's the time. I mean, I think I'd love to show you any questions you may have, anything you may been trying to do and couldn't quite figure it out. We're here to definitely support that. All right, so again, I'm on the Neta pool, so I'm not able to kind of show you how to switch over from one pool to the next. I don't want to expose my IP address, but let me kind of go through the process, and we'll show you how to find the subpools, and then how you can select the subpool that you want, and then connect to it. So again, there's like a little hidden button here, and we default to having our sidebar closed just because we want our miners to have a nice view of the dashboard. But if you click here, it actually pops out a sidebar, and we do have multiple options here that you can choose from. A lot of them are links, like how to connect. We do have our frequent asked questions, a little bit about us, and then some of our social platforms where you can obviously connect there and reach out to us and ask questions. I'd say 9 out of 10 times one of us are online. I'd say about 21 hours out of the day. So there's usually someone there to talk to, and if not, we have a great mining community. They really jump in and help each other out.
That hurts, obviously, when you're in the same time zones as well.
Yeah, it does, but what do we say? There's no sleep in crypto, right?
Exactly. I think we know that all too well.
So anyways, once you click over here to the sidebar, if you want to look at your subpools, or what we call smart pools, you would click on the smart pool tab there. Typically, you got to enter your address, so it might give me a little glitch here. There we go. So this will show you our smart pool database. So the first 2 pools that you see, again, is our default or our standard mining pool. This was the original pool that we had, and continues to mine as normal. We also have our solo pool, and then if you scroll down, these are the project subpools that we've been working with. where you can mine Comet and you can also mine Anita BTC. Now you can see here we did add some updates, from our original release of subpooling. So we did add a lot more data. So you can now see, how much hash rate each pool has. And then if you click these drop downs, you can see, a plethora of data you may not want to see. So that's why we, made it so you can hide it if you want to. But it will show you, how many miners are on the pool, how many blocks were mined, the last block paid, the creator of the mining pool. So again, there's a lot of data here. If you're just interested, you want to know a little bit more about the pool you're about to connect to, and some of the stats that come with it.
Here's a nice question from Diamond Hand. Just sorry to interrupt
Sure.
there, mate. What percentage of hash rate and block production do you hope that Getblok achieves? And then thoughts on the current distribution of hash rate.
Yeah, so I mean, I think when we started this whole initiative, it's always with decentralization in mind, right? So we do want miners to spread the hash rate. While it would be nice to me, number one, we do not want to be, the next nano pool that has 40% hash rate and scares the hell out of everyone, right? We don't want to see any 51% attacks. So we do support, spreading the hash. We do think that's important. Support your smaller pools. Up until a few weeks ago, we were a small pool, right? So I mean, we've definitely been there. We can appreciate it, and we do have some thoughts and some things that we're working on in the future where we can, potentially look to decentralize even further. But I think the sub pooling, while we do kind of maintain the back end, it does break up the hash rate a little bit even within our own mining pool, right? The miners can choose to leave the mining pool and obviously impact the total hash rate on the pool. So again, we do think that there should be fair distribution of hash rate. We don't want to see anyone sitting or teetering close to 50-51%.
Yeah, I think that's important to note. No matter which pool it is on the that offers mining to Ergo, I think it's important to be able to distribute that hash rate accordingly. We have many great pools, so yeah, by all means, reach out to any of them and jump on their pool.
All right, so the next thing we'll show you is how to kind of start mining or how to select a subpool. I'm going to go to Neta BTC. Basically what you do, you just click start mining, right? And we'll take you to what we call a subpool settings page. You would go in here, you'd put your IP address. Now we do suggest two ways to locate this IP address. Again, it can be challenging at times if you're using a VPN or a firewall that may be hiding or blocking your true IP address. But again, the two ways that we suggest finding this would be one, going to Hive OS if you're using Hive OS. They do provide what they call a remote IP address. It's usually hidden. You would have to click on a little box, and then that IP address would be exposed, and then you can enter that IP address here. The other way is to use whatismyipaddress.com. I know it seems like a funny, website name, but it's been used for years, and it will typically show you the proper IP address, again, assuming that your mining rig is within the same location. If you have it remotely, obviously, you're probably using a mining, OS software where you can interact, something like Hive OS. But it would need to be that, the location of where the mining rig is.
Yeah, so it's your actual IP address, not the IP of your local network or your local host itself.
Correct. Yeah, it gets a little confusing. Some people try to use their device IP. It's not your device IP. So yeah, please make sure you're using the right IP address. And we do have some tutorials. If you go to our website, we'll show you exactly how to locate that. Again, so you put that in, you then pick your smart pool. I'm going to pick Anita BT. Since I'm not putting in my IP address, I'm going to click save, and it's going to tell me that my subpool cannot be selected. Usually if that pops up, you probably have the wrong IP address. So I would try again, try something different. Maybe if you're using Hive, go back to, what's my IP address and see if they match. They should. And then so if you were successfully into the subpool, you would get a green notification. It would tell you that you were accepted into the subpool. And then what I always suggest is just go back here, enter your address again, hit enter, and it may take a few seconds, but it should pop up and actually show you the mining pool that you're mining in.
Yeah, just like you mentioned earlier, if it was towards the mining towards the Getblok pool itself, you'd have a big orange Getblok logo there where the little angel is from the Aneta BTC. And obviously you can see there that you are mining to the Aneta BTC smart subpool.
Exactly right. All right, then the last thing I want to show on the UI is our blocks page. So this is, we've actually had a lot of updates on here. We're trying to make it very clear for miners. Originally, we had everything kind of, commingled. It was all showing in one table, which was hard for miners, for example, in the regular pool to see block rewards because Aneta's finding all the blocks, right? So, so what we did a couple things here, right? We did add sorting, so you can now sort by the pool that you're in. So if I wanted to, for example, see the solo pool, you could click solo and you would see all the blocks that were found for that pool. Again, it would show you just very standard information, block height, what the pool is, what the pool epoch is, and we do run on epochs, but that's the block number, the number of blocks that were found in the pool, the block reward, the pool effort, what the status is, and we'll get into this in a little bit here.
Yeah, I was just about to say that you've updated a number of statuses there. Obviously, we can elaborate on that a little bit later.
Yep. Confirmation of the block. So obviously, if the block's not confirmed, it will show you the percentage confirmed, what the network difficulty was at the time when the block was found. And again, this is estimated based on hash rate, and it may not always be a perfect number. Nonce, this is, just a lot of things that are kind of tied to the actual block transaction itself. What's the hash transaction, and then the miner that actually found the block.
Yeah.
So a lot of, really good information. If you want to kind of see the block on the Explorer, you would click the link here, and then it would take you to the Explorer and you could see all the details.
I think that's also great in regards to transparency as well. You have everything sort of listed there, broken down into different statuses of obviously the stages of what, when a block is found, it goes through the verifying, confirmation process, etc., etc. You can elaborate on that, but then also everything's on chain, so you can jump onto the Explorer and view everything in real time.
Yeah, and it's something actually maybe we should jump into a little bit. So you can see a lot more. You can see data here that some miners may not even be aware of. They may get to this and get completely confused. And I'm trying to find a good transaction, but there will be transactions where, maybe let me try this, where you can actually see the neta that was mined or that was rewarded. Instead, typically when default, it will show you erg. It may say like 0.000 something, and you might be like, what is this? Where's my neta, right? So let's try to just go to a miner's address and see one of their transactions.
So to see the token itself, we just have to click on the little +1 or whatever it is on the right-hand side.
Yeah. So you can see one neta was sent there. So if you click on these, you can actually see the neta or whatever token was sent.
Yeah.
So if you ever get confused, the 1.001 erg is basically the transaction fee that's being used to send along that, with that neta. So it processes. And then if you click on the +1, it will show you the details. Now, that actually brings me to another very important point. We've seen a lot of new miners who've never mined Ergo before, right? And they're, jumping from, ETH or whatever they were mining, historically, and they jump right on the neta pool. They don't have a drop of erg, and then they go to ErgoDex and they try to swap their coin, and they're coming into our chat rooms and asking if they could have, you know, a
Point
0.001
zero zero one of an erg to be able to process.
Yeah, so quick solve for that, guys. Mine on the standard pool for a few hours. We'll hit blocks. You get, you know, a small block reward, and then you could switch over to Neta and have the you know, necessary fees of 0.001. All right, so jumping back to payouts, we put together, and this just launched just a couple days ago, but we put together a payout reference. And what that does is it gives a very detailed overview of how the blocks process on our pool, because again, it is very, very different than your traditional mining pool. So again, we start off by saying we do process blocks in 20 confirmations. Now, how does that work? Ergo in itself, when you start a mining pool from scratch, or if you're a solo miner and you're mining to your node, many of you know this, it takes 24 hours or 720 confirmations for that block to be fully confirmed and paid out. Okay, that's standard mining. Now, what happens is mining pools such as ourselves, we actually fund the pool wallet, right? So we calculate how many blocks we're, you know, making in a time period, how long it takes for those blocks to be confirmed, and we're actually funding that pool wallet. So we're fronting the money so we can, or the erg, so miners can be paid out that much quicker. Now, in a traditional mining process, great, right? 20 confirmations, that's 40 minutes to an hour. That's really, really fast. Now, up until we started subpooling, that was kind of our standard. Now we implemented subpooling, so that changes things a bit, right? Because not only are we just processing blocks and paying out miners, which is a fairly straightforward process, right? Take that block reward, you compare it against the share submitted, and then you disperse based on that percentage of shares submitted per each miner. Well, here, now we need to kind of take all of that. We need to figure out, all right, how much did each miner make in erg? We need to now connect to ErgoDex, right? And calculate what's the price of Neta versus erg, and how does that impact the erg that the miner just earned, right? And then at the same time, we're doing all of this within the smart contract. So it does slow things down a bit, right? So kind of need to separate confirmations versus smart contract processing. And I think that's the difference in what our mining pool offers versus others, right? We can offer subpooling, proof of vote, you know, all sorts of things. And we're, you know, obviously we'll come out with multiple additional use cases, but it's not just your traditional mining. You're mining erg and you get paid in block rewards. So what we've done here is we created a table, and it's really a straightforward process. I know there's a lot of statuses here, I guess I would call them, but they're for a reason, and we'll kind of go through each one. So the first one is validating, and really all that is we found a block. We're starting to validate whether or not it's an orphan or not. Once it starts receiving confirmations from the blockchain, then it will switch from validating to confirming. If it does not go to confirming, the only other option is for it to go to orphaned. And then in that case, it's an orphaned block. And unfortunately, that's a lost block. It means someone else actually found that block just a little bit faster than we did. As I mentioned, confirming is the time period that the block is confirming. So that would go up to the 20 confirmations.
But just on that 20 confirmation,
yeah,
how did you actually come to that number?
So, I mean, I think for one, we were striving to be, the quickest, on the blockchain, right? So, did some math. We were a smaller pool. It was a little bit easier for us from a funding standpoint. And we did the math, and that was, not only was it a good number just from a processing standpoint, but it was a number that was the safest to use to ensure that the block may not, in fact, become orphan. And that's actually, it's just a recommendation from Ergo themselves. Usually once it passes a few confirmations, it's pretty safe, but it's just that what if scenario, right? So better safe than sorry.
Yeah, it's much quicker than the 720, but then also it just gives you a little bit of sort of padding there just in case it is an orphan block.
Exactly right. So again, as it hits that confirmed status, the block will go to confirmed. And then what it does is it goes into its processing now. So we confirm the block. Now it can start processing on the smart contract. So we added a new phase. This is called pre-processing. This was added intentionally because this is the phase that's used to calculate. We're calculating at this point in time your unconfirmed balance. All right. So we're taking your shares submitted. There's obviously some algorithm in the background that's kind of doing all the calculating, and it's projecting what we think your rewards will be based off of Ergo decks and the amount of shares that have been submitted. But it's not processed yet, right? So we need to go through that phase. So it's a calculation, and that's what shows up in your unconfirmed balance. But that may change just slightly. And the only reason why it may change is, again, we're doing this, within time periods of block fines and things of that nature. Well, it's not necessarily a static number when tokens being traded on a DEX, right? It fluctuates. So there's some minor fluctuations, but nothing that would be that significant. So what it does, it then goes into the process phase. That's where it's all being sent to the smart contracts, and then we're waiting for all those processes of transactions to be completed in order to finalize the balance. Once it does that, it goes into the process phase, and that's where it's again sent to the smart contracts. It's been confirmed, and then the unconfirmed balances are then finalized at that point in time, so they won't change from there. That's where the actual transaction's been done. It's been confirmed. We can lock in that value. Following that, and this is where it gets kind of into the final stages, what happens after the blocks are processed and they're basically waiting to be paid, they go into the initiated phase. So remember, we talked about batch processing, right, of 5 blocks. So the blocks will start to queue up in an initiated phase until it hits that 5 block ratio or frequency, and then it starts to go through the payment process, which takes a little bit of time. Again, it's based on a block fine, but that's when the 5 blocks kind of come together. You would typically see 5 of them showing as initiated, and then once that 5th one is hit, it starts paying, and then shortly after, and again, it could be 2 minutes, it could be 10, it could be an hour, but you would then see that convert over to the paid status. And once it hits the paid status, that's where everything transfers over to your confirmed balance, and then it will actually update in your payments as well.
That's got just on block time there. It's a funny, uncanny thing that I sort of do as well. Is if I could look at the Explorer and there'll be numerous transactions of 2 minutes or less, and then as soon as I do a transaction on Ergo Dex, sure as shit, it's going to be a 20-minute block or something silly like that. It's so uncanny how often it happens.
And it's funny, like and it's really Karat because he's studies the blockchain like no tomorrow, but he's starting to learn the times of day where the network becomes congested, right? Ergo pads issuing things for staking, there's just all these things, all this activity in the blockchain that happen at certain frequencies of the day. Well, we do notice our payments slow down when other things are being processed as well. And I'm sure the same happens for others, right? I think Karat mentioned we're processing 80 to 90, high computational transactions at a time. Well, that will add a little bit of a bottleneck to the network, right? So, I mean, there's other contributing factors outside of, just the mining pool that we can't control, right? Node updates, node failure. I mean, there's the Explorer API going down, right? I mean, it's software development. Things happen. How many times have you logged on? And I'm going to use this as a kind of an example now, but you've logged on to Netflix and maybe it didn't connect on the first try, right? And you have to, reboot or relog in or whatever the case may be. Things happen, right? Things go down, servers go down. It's the nature of the beast. But the key thing is response time, making sure that you have a dedicated team that can react quickly and get things up and running.
Yeah, most definitely. So is that everything that you want to run through on the screen share then, mate?
Yeah, I think that pretty well covers everything. Not sure if there was any other questions before we kind of move on here, but yeah, I think that was kind of the broad overview that I wanted to provide.
Yeah, no dramas. Well, do you want to stop sharing your screen and I'll transfer back over. There we go. Nice to see you guys again. We've got a number of sort of questions here that's kind of been queuing up. So Desert Farmer has one. What's next? Is ErgoPad more Netta or also back to the Comet pool? So just on Netta there, we're up to 70% of emissions. I'm not too sure what the Comet is. I haven't checked that one out for some time. But yeah, what's next for Ergo for Getblok itself?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, we are still in conversations with Frosty and his team about, what does that next phase look like? So more to come on that. We have obviously, I think, as it's been kind of leaked a little bit out there in the community, but we have been talking with the ErgoPad team and even some of their, projects as well as to, what can we do with subpooling, give a little bit of background and now I think we're getting into a place where the UI, the back end, it's all functioning as it should, so we could start to put a little bit more focus on that. But right now I would say for the next couple of weeks it's stabilizing, right, making sure
Yeah.
that the pool's functioning. Obviously, as I mentioned, it's been quiet, so that's a good thing. But yeah, no, I think that's what's next, at least in the immediate future. We are looking to do, something fun again with NFTs. I think, may it leaked out slowly, but we've got some When Lambo NFTs
Yeah,
out
I
there
saw
that we
those.
created. So, we'll do fun things like that just to, bring attention to the pool and, make things fun and interesting for miners. So,
Yeah.
that's in the immediate future. And then the next phase is really going to be focused on user-based subpools.
Yeah.
And that's where it's going to be, anyone can basically, log into a UI and create their own subpool based on, multiple options that we'll provide to that, said miner or end user.
Yeah. I think it's sort of great to note also that throughout all these sort of teething problems that you've just had through basically being a subject of your own sort of success, you've also implemented a number of sort of redundancies in regards to infrastructure and things along those lines as well. So I think that's also important to note.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think as we mentioned on, one of the previous streams that we've had, we added, multiple areas of redundancy in every single region that we operate in. So, it just provides another layer of, I guess support or, backup in the sense of contingency in the in the times that things do go wrong, and they will. And it's, again, it's just the way things are, but we'll be on it and we'll be right there just to get it right back to where it should be.
Yeah, perfect. There's also a cheeky little comment here from Desert Farmer in regards to maybe Excel could have some Mr. Chris Ray. What are your thoughts on that? How about you
Yeah,
create a little subpool? I'm sure Rob will be happy to guide
we'd be
you and
happy.
everything like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Chris knows where to find me. We'd be, happy to partner up and do something with that. But yeah, I mean, look, as long as it's a native token, we can basically distribute it on the subpool. And, hopefully in the future, bridges come and, they'll be finalized. And who knows, maybe we'll be, mining Ergo and it's converting to, who knows, BTC. I mean, you name it, right? So, I mean, there could definitely be some future opportunities out there.
That's one of the most exciting things that I find in regards to this is obviously you have things like sort of two miners and nice hash where you can kind of delegate your hash and then mine, say, ETH or Bitcoin or anything along those sort of lines. We can basically do that sort of natively on Ergo through Getblok and smart contracts. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think, not only do we bring that to the table? But it's within a smart contract, so it also provides a level of transparency too, where you can see that data on chain, and it's, I think that's what people are looking for, right? It's not just like you say all the time, trust me, bro, right? So it gives that additional level of confidence. And I think, look, people have seen, especially in our pool, things go wrong. The data is there. It shows you the blocks that are found. There's no hiding that, right? We
Yeah.
can't alter that data because it's all stored. So, I mean, it's just, again, it gives you, that comfort level, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whole trust me, bro model. I think you guys sort of epitomize the opposite of what that is. You have
Yeah.
everything clear, transparent. It's all on chain. You've just gone through all the sort of data that you have in the UI, etc. It's just everything's stored, so it's great.
No, it really is a benefit.
Yeah. Uh, Little comment here from Ian. To find your IP, you can do it in shell in a box. So that's pretty straightforward if you know how to go about that also. So another comment here from Diamond Mine. What are your thoughts regarding Autolycus from a developer and miner perspective? Do you want to go from that?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that. I mean, look, I think from a miner perspective, being that I am a miner, there's several benefits to mining Ergo, right? I mean, if you look at it from just overall maintenance and life expectancy and things like that of your mining rigs, I think definitely give Ergo a look, right? Because I've seen, even with my own rigs, if you go from ETH, and don't even get me started on Raven, but if you go from, one of those algorithms over to Ergo, I've personally seen it at minimum a 25% reduction, not only in energy consumption, but also um, thermals, right? I mean, rigs just run that much cooler. Obviously, in the midst of the summer, which many of us are, things warm up, right? And if you're using air conditioning and supplemental cooling, well, you're working those systems that much harder, right? So yeah, I think from a miner's perspective, it's a very GPU friendly algorithm. I've even seen a lot of miners come from ETH and have been very surprised, to the difference in performance.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. That's one of the great things as well is the surprise you often hear in regards to people sort of switching over, like obviously doing it live or something along those lines. A good example of that would be sort of be the ETH hash rate migration, where people can run over or jump over onto Ergo and then also see the benefits of the reduced power usage. The temperatures are a lot less, like you just mentioned. Yeah, there's numerous sort of benefits in regards to that. Less maintenance, less cooling requirements, which then obviously impact your overall efficiency going forward. Yeah, there's numerous sort of benefits.
yeah, and then outside of that, I mean, from a developer standpoint, and I'm not, necessarily a developer who develops code. I've obviously worked a little bit on the UI and things like that, but been obviously involved with the development community. And I have to say that I've dabbled and kind of explored other communities that are out there, and it's just, I don't know, there's just something about the Ergo community that everyone comes together, they support each other. I think from a development side, it helps, right? Because you're not out there on your own trying to figure something out. Everyone kind of pulls together. So I mean, I think that community side of things really goes a long way with the development side, because people want to stick around, they want to help each other, they want to see the ecosystem grow. So that's just my 2 cents, my experience, but um I think it's definitely developer friendly as well. And it's really interesting to see, at least for us, right, the ability to kind of take the mining side, right, and kind of bring it together with the development side through subpooling, right? So we're taking a project that's completely developed on the ecosystem or on the blockchain like Aneta, and we're able to interact with them and kind of collaborate. So I mean, I think being a proof of work blockchain, that's what it should be about, in my opinion, is kind of bringing that together.
Yeah, we have a really great community here at Ergo, both from the miners' perspective, but then also throughout the ecosystem, the core developers, the community developers, and then uh, just a general investor. They obviously fall in love with Ergo. So you see it time and time again. People, as soon as they start looking into Ergo itself, I call it the Ergo gravitational pull. Sort of once it has you, there's just no escaping it because people can see how great of a project this is.
That's very true. It's addicting in a way, right?
Yeah,
You get
most
sucked in
definitely.
and that's it. You're done.
Yeah. But for good reason as well. Obviously, from an overall protocol sort of development side of thing, offering numerous things that maybe one project is sort of focusing on itself. Ergo itself is sort of branching out and offering numerous sort of use cases that others aren't. So it's great, all combined into the one sort of protocol.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely interesting to see as well, because you look out there at other blockchains and they all have their home, they all have their place, right? But you look at Ergo and it's so versatile with the offerings that it can provide. And you know what I mean? It's just it's almost like the possibilities are endless, right? And
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
very flexible blockchain. So
All right, Chris Ray, thanks very much for tuning in, mate. Have a great rest of your day. He's just taking off.
take care,
So
buddy.
hope that sort of answers your question there, Diamond Mind. Diamond Mine. Ian, ping times are great. So he has rigs 100 Ks away from, and both are sort of under 25 millisecond for the ping time. That's pretty good.
That's really good. Yeah, and I mean that's obviously something that we really focus on, is providing the best latency possible, right? So I think we're up to 7 regional locations, all with multiple Stratum servers, and nodes for processing. But it's something we're always looking at. We're looking at the connections to the pool, where those geographical locations are coming from. So we can cater to the miners, right? Even in our chat we have people saying, can you add a mining server to South Africa, right? So I mean that's something we're looking into. I mean it's so it's important, right? There's miners out there that want to mine. They're connecting to pools, maybe 100, 200, 300 millisecond latency, and that's the best they can get because they're in the middle of nowhere. So we're looking for that. We're trying to see where we can provide value.
Yeah, it's often the case with Australia. Obviously, we're sort of our population's a little less than other regions throughout the world, and we're often forgotten. So obviously, I thank you guys for setting up a server here. And my latency was somewhere up around 200 milliseconds until sort of you opened up your server on the east coast here of Australia, and now I'm sort of sub 10 milliseconds. I'm pretty happy with
Right.
that.
Yeah, right in your backyard.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned it a couple of times. There's a couple of big miners coming out of Australia as well who are sort of sub 10 or so as well.
Yeah, I mean we've gotten some really great feedback on response times.
Yeah. Alpha Mine. Cheers, gentlemen. Thanks very much. Love the transparency principles, and yeah, thank you for you guys. So I think that's pretty cool. It's a really good sort of initiative. I think that you guys are offering. We've touched on this numerous times in regards to sort of the traditional mining pool model. And once again, it's kind of that the whole trust me, bro sort of model.
Yep.
Yeah, having that clear, transparent block rewards, payouts, everything like that. Being on chain, it's great for anyone to be able to sort of dive in and check.
Yeah, and I mean we don't obviously want to stop there either. Obviously looking for ways how can we provide more transparency. So I know we're looking into ways where we could potentially open up the back end a little bit more, where it might just be a preview or something like that, but read only rights, but at least we'll give miners an additional view as to kind of what's happening in the back end.
Yeah, yeah. Another comment here from Ian. He actually put a command in Hive OS to show the IP, but it was blocked. Yeah, it's a funny little sort of application, that one. So it can get away with some things, but then others sort of trip you up as well. It's pretty
Yep,
funny.
exactly right.
Vinny Lima, looking great, guys. Cheers, mate.
Hey, Vinny.
We're tuning in from bed again, or what?
Yeah, probably. He told me I have to call you CJ, so I just had to
CJ.
get that one in there. Says hello.
Did he DM that? Did he? He's a character.
Yeah.
Diamond Mine, how's the hosting data center going? That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. So it's going well. We've obviously broken ground. We're working on adding some additional capacity. We're actually looking to I guess this is kind of a spoiler, right, CW, but
Yeah, look
we
out.
are looking to, yeah, we're just going to get very high level, but we're looking to put something together where we can give you a little bit of a deeper insight about who Getblok.io is. We're identified as a mining pool, but that's not who we are by any means, right? So
Yeah.
we do have the hosting services, and that's something that we'll dive into in a lot more detail. But the pool was really established and really came out of more of an R&D fund, right? So, and again, we'll get into this in more detail, but we have a roadmap that kind of goes beyond the mining pool, beyond the hosting services, and it's to look to provide excellence in delivering software development within the blockchain space, and how can we utilize some of this technology that we've been developing, and not only just sheer development, but how can we integrate smart contracts into other areas outside of just traditional mining and things like that. So more to come, but yeah, great question on the hosting, and we're looking forward to give you a really deep insight onto who we are and what we do outside of just standard mining.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It'll be fun. Also,
Agreed.
just to elaborate on that, you also offer graphics cards themselves to be able to be purchased.
That's correct. So, I mean, obviously, since we're have been developing this hosting services, and we have multiple relationships with not only distributors and things like that of that nature, but we do have the partnership through the NVIDIA Inception program. So with that, we're able to obtain GPUs at either market price or sometimes below market price. So with that, at times we're able to offer GPUs to the mining community, at times right at MSRP. So I suggest checking out our website. You can kind of see what we have to offer there. We're always looking into some what's the latest and greatest. If anyone's interested in bulk buys or anything of that nature, feel free to reach out to us, and we can definitely look into something like that.
Yeah, so obviously you can purchase and then get you guys to manage the hosting, or set up your own rigs themselves.
Yeah, there's multiple options there. Again, we call it bring your own GPU, so you can send us your GPUs. We'll receive them, we'll inspect them, we'll make sure that they're in tip-top shape, and then obviously we'll host them for you. So we'll put them in our Octominer server cases, and that will be our standard. So you don't have to worry about being on some jalopy old rig that was just kind of thrown together. We do use state-of-the-art equipment, and obviously we'll maintain your equipment, and then you have access to control your rig as you please, again within bumper guards, right? We don't want you screwing up your cards, so we will put some guardrails there. But it's your keys, you have access to it. We don't want to know your password or anything like that, so we kind of keep it, it's yours, right? So again, back to that level of transparency, it's your mining, right? So we don't want to kind of interfere with that.
Yeah. Just on throwing rigs together, are you pointing fingers at me?
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Just waiting on some cards. So yeah, waiting. I'm just waiting to figure out what's going on in regards to GPU pricing at the moment. So retail price wise, they've dropped significantly here in Australia, but yet to see any sort of significant drop on the sort of third party market. So anything like on eBay, etc. So I keep referring to this, and it's still up on eBay. Actually, there's 6 full hash rate 3060 Ti's on eBay in Australia for 12,500 Australian dollars. So
yeah, no,
That's
That's
about
just,
nine, maybe 10,000 US dollars. It's just ridiculous.
that's way too much money. Yeah, I mean, it's same here. It has come down significantly as far as GPU prices are concerned. There's some great deals out there. I mean, you can literally buy GPUs probably half the price that we were purchasing them a few months ago. I mean, it's sad, but now's the time to accumulate. And
Yeah.
it's interesting to see how the secondary market or the tertiary market will play
Mm.
out, because there is a flood coming. You saw a bunch of articles. There's, a lot of Chinese miners that are kind of, shutting things down. People are shutting things down because of profits, heat, all sorts of things. So it'll be interesting to see how those prices drop. It will be a race to the bottom, I'm sure. As things typically are when this happens. And
Yeah.
keep your eye out. There'll be deals. People will have to drop their rates because you can't compare with
Yeah.
retail and buying a GPU brand new for the same price. So
Well, the
there
funny
will
thing
be a
in
shift.
respect to that one, actually, you can pick up 3060 Ti's for under 700 Australian now. So that just kind of puts things into perspective. Obviously, the full hash rate obviously doesn't sort of play into things now with the unlocking and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty funny to watch.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, again, I if I told you some of the prices I paid for GPUs, you'd probably cry, but we won't go there.
Exactly. Crandano, shout out, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Uh, Desert Farmer, I must be far. The best he can get is 45 milliseconds. Where are you, mate? Reach out, let us know. Question here from Andy. Why do you think subpooling and smart mining doesn't get the attention that it deserves from the wider crypto scene?
I
What have you done, and so what have you done and should be sort of getting more credit and risk in regards to that?
Sure. I think we're starting to penetrate, the
Yeah,
Ethereum miners right now. I think that, we've definitely seen an influx in miners, not only to the pool, but it's interesting if you go to our dashboard and you kind of look at our spike in hash rate,
yeah,
and then you look at the network spike in hash rate, it was literally at the same time. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see, as the ETH merge happens, the difficulty bomb, all that stuff kind of comes to fruition, where the miners will go. And again, we've seen a lot of, you know what I'll call the YouTubers and some of the, advocates that are out there speaking for the mining community that have shown a lot of interest in Getblok. So focusing on that right now, I think that's, kind of one of the best ways to kind of get the message out there. And then now we're thinking a little bit broader. How do we take this a little bit more on a global level and penetrate markets that are a little challenge, like China, right? I mean, China's a very tough market. There's a lot of miners there. So, looking into things like our ambassador program, where maybe we can, pull in people from different regions and, help spread the word. And then, also just standard PR. We have been doing
yeah.
some, standard PR work.
I think it's because it's something that's so foreign to a lot of people. This is completely new in the crypto scene. It's just trying to get that message out to some of the influencers to start with, and then they can sort of start elaborating. I think we're starting to see some inroads that people do see that interest, but also more content like this gets people talking about the benefits. I know a couple of the influencers that I've been speaking to have sort of asked the difference between what sort of Getblok is offering, and then in comparison to sort of what two miners and sort of NiceHash do. So obviously there's a big difference in that respect. So it's just a matter of sort of getting that understanding, but then also explaining what Ergo is and what it does, how it benefits things, and how it sort of differentiates between different projects as well, as people can start seeing a really big use case.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think that, subpooling in itself has brought some attention to Ergo in general. We're
Yeah,
seeing a lot of people that are just, what is Ergo all about, right? So I mean, I
yeah,
think there's a almost a double layer of penetration, right? You need to first get, the miner to understand Ergo and what Ergo is all about, and then it's like subpooling, like what's that? You know what I
yeah,
mean? So it's almost like a double whammy. But I think, again, being, involved in the community, and obviously, been working closely with a lot of the developers and whatnot. I think it helps to have that background to kind of enlighten people what Ergo is about, pointing them to the right content. Being that kind of hand there to help people as they're entering into the community and need that helping hand, right? I mean, we've all started off somewhere, and you can go into chat rooms sometimes and just try to jump right in, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But I honestly, I haven't seen that with Ergo. I think that our community is very embracing. We're open. We want to bring in new contributors, not only to the mining space but to the development space as well. And I think that the community helps with that a lot, right? It's again, kind of having that welcoming wagon, asking people, how did they hear about Ergo, how did they hear about Getblok, and then resonating on that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a great thing that people always sort of jump to as well is everyone's sort of happy to help and explain what Ergo is. Obviously, there's a little bit of a learning curve because it kind of it's like a jack of all trades, but it does everything well. It doesn't sort of limit itself in regards to spreading itself too far. It's just a matter of time, I think, until we sort of see some really decent adoption. I think ETH merge, whenever that sort of comes in regards to sort of the difficulty bomb, I think we're sort of going to see a really nice influx of miners.
Yeah, I agree. And I think part of that will also be, I mean, if you look at Ethereum as a whole, right, and you take kind of the miners' perspective, a lot of miners
Yeah,
feel like they were almost abandoned, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah,
they've spent all this time, all this investment on equipment, and now all of a sudden it's almost over, right? And it's
yeah,
it's not over, but it's over for miners. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't know, you look at Ergo and it's like it's such a different landscape. The miners, they have the say, in a nutshell, right? They, obviously with EIP initiatives and things like voting and all of that stuff. I think it provides a different level of governance that is built for miners, and the developers that are involved can get behind that as well. So
yeah,
it's a win-win, right? And it really brings something to the table for a proof of work miner who's looking for longevity, right? And
yeah.
so you can go back and you can look at all the other EIPs on Ethereum, and there's been several that have really hurt miners. And you can look at the ones on the Ergo blockchain, and they were voted on by miners, they were approved by miners, and at the end of the day, I think it's what's needed for extended life of Ergo, right? We all want to be mining Ergo for a long time. So I think that there's a much different landscape when we compare the two.
Yeah, and that sort of elaborates on sort of the discussions that I've had also with some of these influencers, some of the mining influencers, and that is it kind of feels like a breath of fresh air. Obviously, with the ETH sort of side of things, the developers basically run the show, and the miners are sort of the redheaded cousin in the corner sort of thing that's just there to provide the ultimate security for their network, and they're just kind of ship that redheaded cousin off.
Yeah.
It's quite sad because they've obviously built a massive ecosystem, billions of dollars secured by the miners, and then obviously just kind of leaving them out into the wild, into the cold. And
Yeah.
it's a breath of fresh air when you explain the governance side of things and then how valued miners are on Ergo to these guys. And it's they're quite surprised. Like obviously, with from the governance perspective, the miners have rights to change protocol parameters, but then also have the right to vote into EIPs. So we just see the mining community come together really well in regards to EIP 27, which was basically a massive hit to short-term profitability, but extended the long-term sort of security model for the protocol. So it's have to say thanks once again for that. Obviously, putting short-term sort of profits aside for the longevity of the protocol, it's great. And to see the mining community as a whole come together on that, it's huge.
No, I agree. And I think, I may have said this before, but, I think it worked out well, right? I mean, if you look at things from, a very high level, we're in a crypto winter right now. Prices seem to kind of bottom out, I would say, right? I don't think it's going any lower than where it is. So
The dangerous words.
yeah, yeah, no, knock on wood, right? But no, but I mean, if you look at it from this perspective, we can get a nice little pump, you know what I mean, 50 cents, a dollar, and it almost makes up for,
Yeah.
you know, the loss and reward. So I mean, I think it's in a good spot from that aspect. You know, the loss and rewards will easily be made up, they'll come back, and you know, we'll be able to mine a lot longer. So to me, it's
Yeah,
a win-win.
exactly. Yeah, so another cheeky comment here from Vinny. Jalopy rigs. He likes the term. Shall be a CW trademark. Thank you very
There you
much for
go.
calling me CW, mate. And soon on a t-shirt. Look forward to it, mate. Andy, take care, mate. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Andy.
Does anyone else have any comments? By all means, or questions, reach out. Is there anything else you wanted to sort of touch on, mate?
No, I think we covered it pretty well. You know, I think, you know, again, wanted to really just kind of dive into, you know, what mining on Ergo is about and, you know, how to connect to our subpool. And if anyone has any additional questions, you know, again, feel free to reach out to us. You know, we have I think Discord has kind of been our preference. You know, again, if you have issues, feel free to, you know, join our Discord. We actually have a ticket system where you can submit a ticket, and you know, we're treating that as like our way to kind of, you know, manage issues. So please, if it's a real issue, fill that out. We can track it, we can monitor it, and we can make sure we get you in a response appropriately. Other than that, you can find us on Telegram and Twitter, or you can, you know, log on to our website and email us directly.
Yeah, perfect. All right, well, nothing's come through in regards to any more additional questions, so we might wrap that up, mate. It's been a pleasure once again talking to you for, what are we now? Over an hour and a
Yeah,
half. It's been a stream.
it's been a long one.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. Look forward to chatting to everyone. By all means, reach out onto Getblok if you have any questions. You can jump onto Discord, Telegram, Twitter. The guys are active, so by all means, reach out if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in once again, and thank you very much, Rob, for your time.
Thanks, everyone.